Today's just a quick troubleshooting guide. We're going to start off with the number one cause of problems, bleed through. So for example, there's a tiny bit of bleed through here. It's mostly shadowing, but say we weren't happy with that. Well, what I did on the other side, on the clean, pure and humble honest side, was just quickly spread it with acrylic paint, and that's one way to combat bleed through. Now, none of my examples are really bad problems of bleed through, because I usually prep my page or make sure that it doesn't happen in the first place. But in this case, on this page, I wasn't happy with how it was showing through the back of the page, and so to combat that bleed through, what I did was I'll turn the page over, I added some Duracell to the page. So that wasn't part of my original design. Originally it was just a little wreath, but then I added that Duracell to cover what I didn't like, and it's kind of sparkly and shiny, and yeah, so it became part of my design. Now this next one doesn't have any bleed through, but it is a way you could cover bleed through, and that's by washi tape. So yeah, there's nothing on the back of there, but if there was, you can make a washi tape background, which is how I created this journal entry, and then any bleed through would be covered. Another way I could combat bleed through is by grabbing some scrapbooking paper. So again, here we have those little tiny bits of bleed through. So right here, this is a piece of origami paper, but I could glue that to the back. As you can see, it doesn't fit the whole page, but I could get a big piece of scrapbooking paper and fit it to the entire page, and that would cover the bleed through and also give you a really pretty background to work on for the next piece you do. Another tiny bit of bleed through I got was in the deer's eyes in this entry, and so as you can see, it's just tiny. But what I could do to cover that bleed through could be put a sticker over top of the eyes, just right over the top. Could be a font sticker or a flower sticker, and that would incorporate it into my design, or even draw a letter over it in something that won't bleed through. Now there are a couple reasons for bleed through, and in this case, again, it's very minute but tiny little bleed through. The reason for this page bleeding through was because I was impatient and I didn't wait for it to dry. So that's one reason it will bleed through. But there are some ways to prevent it. So one way, wait for it to dry. Another way you can prevent any bleed through would be to use prepping of the page. So in this case, acrylic glazing liquid. That will prevent most bleed through. But if you want to check if a medium bleeds through, which I always do before using something new, you could turn to your index pages in your Bible. So here's just another one of my Bibles that I journal in. So as you can see here, I've just done some testing on the index page, and yes, they all bleed through. And that doesn't mean I can't use the products, it just means I need to do a little bit more work before I use them, such as prep my page. Now if you're thinking, oh no, I couldn't bear to wreck my beautiful index because you want that to be beautiful in your Bible journal, and I can't talk because I was doing it in my other Bible journal, I haven't done anything in this index, then there is another solution you can do. Instead, what you can do is grab a dictionary. The bigger the dictionary, the better, because the bigger the book, the thinner the pages they are. So this one's kind of thin, but I have bigger dictionaries that have very thin pages, and then I can just test my medium on there, and I haven't hurt the Bible at all. So that's another option if you don't want to touch the Bible with your pens. So the next problem I want to look at that sometimes happens, and it has happened to me before, is spelling a word wrong. So I was writing this little journal entry out, and I wrote my little descriptions of what a lie is, and I realised looking at the page that I'd written excuse wrong. So I was like, oh no, what do I do? I can't leave it. So what I did in this case was I blacked out the whole thing because it used to be written in black, and then I just wrote over in white. So that's how I fixed that problem. Alternatively, I could have done something else, like I could have covered up the whole piece with another piece of paper. So if I take my origami paper, I could have just covered those up. Or I could have covered that whole entire box and re-journaled it. But yeah, so that's a quick fix for if you spell something wrong. Okay, so the next thing that sometimes happens to me, and especially happens if you don't plan out your page beforehand, is not being able to fit words. So in this case, I was practicing my brush lettering for the first time, and I realized that about you, that hungry was not going to fit on the page. So what I did here was a simple fix, was to slope my N, slope my G, my R, and then I sloped my Y, and then that fitted in. So you can just put it in a curvy shape, or you could slant it completely in a kind of diagonal shape, but that's one way to fix it. Alternatively, you could use a hyphen, or another way that I'll show you that I did on another page. In this page, I couldn't fit behold, so what I did, because I wanted to use those stencils, so what I did was I just split the word into two. So you can still see it says behold, but I've split it into two, and that's another way to do it if you can't fit the words on a page. So this page is actually my failed in so many places page, and the next thing I did wrong on this page was I ripped the page. So how did I do that? Because I didn't wait for it to dry like normal. So underneath the God, I am God, is actually a huge rip, and what I did to fix the rip page was I just washi taped it both sides. So I put washi tape on that side, which is a feature of my page now, and then I just put it all the way over the rip, and then I turned it over and I put washi tape on the other side. Now I haven't journaled this side, but I'm gonna have to just make this go with my design like I did on the other side of the page. So that's one way to fix the rip. My sister's baby actually bit her tip in, so she used the washi tape method to fix that too. Now this journal entry actually had so much that went wrong with it, and the last thing that I had to fix up that went wrong with this journal entry was this. So it might not look that bad, and I really, the point of doing those little lines was I wanted to highlight the Bible verse, but I just hated it afterwards. I think it was the colour scheme, and I didn't feel like it really went with my other side of the page, so I just hated it. So what do you do when you hate part of your page? You just can't stand it, which I couldn't. What I did was I just made a tip in. So I painted a black piece of paper and then just stuck it in, and that covered my ugliness. Now it's still there, but I don't have to look at it when I open the page. So yeah. Hopefully through this just troubleshooting guide you've found something that helps you when you're going through a moment in Bible journaling, which they will come because we all make mistakes. If you have any other problems that you encounter and don't know how to fix it, comment below and I'll try and help.